I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is On the Other Side of Things, the Smith & Sniff spin-off in which we answer your questions. Before we start with answering questions, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about Quentin Willson, who I assume people will know by now, sadly died last Saturday. I've mentioned many times on this podcast, I worked with Quentin. My first job in TV on The Cars of the Star and then Top Gear. So I owe him an enormous amount for the fact that in my first job, which was researching on The Cars of the Star, I pulled together all this information. It was a show about the Larder. And then we weren't filming for a few weeks. So the producer said, well, why don't you try and pull some of this research together into a script? And I was like, well, I don't know how to do that. And he gave me some old scripts from previous episodes and then just left me alone for a week more, I think, to hash together this script as best I could. But then I had the luxury of being able to sort of come back to it, edit it, revise it, try and make it as good as I could whilst blundering about, not really knowing what I was doing. And then Quentin came into the office, and it was the first time I'd met him. And he was exactly like he was on the TV, except that he swore more, which was kind of thrilling in its own right. And he was very charming and very friendly. And we all sat down, and the producer had printed out this script that I'd written, and he gave it to Quentin. And we sat there while Quentin read it. He sort of looked up and straight at me, and he went, "Did you write this?" And I said, yes, I did. And he went, "It's very good."
Wow.
And I can't overstate how important that was, just that little moment in making me think, oh God, the man off the telly's just told me that my script's good and maybe I can have a go at this more often. And it was such a priceless moment for me. And the thing about Quentin is that he never stopped in that level of support and encouragement. And I would write stuff for him all the time. And of course, you know, he would take it and adapt it and make his own and add bits. But when you gave him a raw script, you know, I can sort of vividly remember another time just turning up on location, and he was memorising a sort of opening piece to camera that I'd written. And I was sort of standing there just kind of like, oh, I hope it's okay. He just looked at me and he went, "You write very well."
Oh, that's good.
And it's like, this was over a year into my job there. You know, he had no need to be that nice to me anymore. I was on the team. It wasn't needed, but it was really appreciated, perhaps more than he would know. And I think it says a lot about the man. He was a very generous soul.
Yeah, I discovered that. I was scared to meet him. I'd never worked with him. I did one weekend job with him at the London Classic Car Show where we did some hosting together and some questions and answers and that kind of thing. And he was great fun. But before that, I met him at the Goodwood Ball. Yeah, I was sat on the same table as him at the ball as a guest of Folds, and I was nervous to meet him because I really, really loved the stuff that he did on the TV. And bizarrely, it's weird that you and I are working together doing this, because The Cars of the Star was one of the moments in TV which I just couldn't stop watching them. I used to get my dad to record them on video, and I used to watch them back, and I absolutely pored over them. I pored over the detail and the archive and his delivery, and all the way it was all knitted together was just lovely.
But that show, in retrospect, was so successful as a TV programme because of Quentin and because he had this incredible knowledge. I mean, there's another thing about Quentin. He was fabulous company. Off camera, he was such good company. There have been so many messages flying around in the last few days amongst those of us who've worked with him at various points. You know, I was messaging back and forth with Jeremy at the weekend, and then with James Woodruff, who was another of that intake of researchers from Pebble Mill, and various other directors and researchers and producers and all sorts of people from different eras who worked with Quentin or crossed paths with him. The warmth in those messages and the love for the man that, you know, perhaps we didn't fully express at the time, and we've been swapping some favourite memories. and Woodruff sent me a clip, just a short clip of an item from Top Gear where he bought a larder to send back to Russia in that period when the Russians were paying good money for old larders.
They were,
from the UK.
To repatriate. And
he does this piece to camera to explain that he's now bought this old larder and paid all the money for it. And it's just so elegant. Quentin did an English degree, and you sort of realise that. And I think that rightly, Clarkson gets credited as a great writer and a great presenter. But I think that Quentin, with his own style, could easily match strides with Jeremy in terms of that finesse with words.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the ability to deliver them in a unique style. And someone else I worked with pointed out that it was almost a prerequisite of anyone who worked on Top Gear in the old days that you had to be able to do an impression of Quentin, because we all did.
Yes, I know.
Well, exactly. That's where that I know it all comes from. And Sweet Guy is a Quentinism.
It's a Quentinism, it is, yeah. Exactly. So we owe a lot to him.
But I do think it's a tribute to the man that he had such a distinctive style and such a brilliant way with pithy one-liners that he seeped into all our brains, which is the mark of a genuine, standout character and someone with a unique talent. And yeah, we were swapping these one-liners back and forth on WhatsApp, and there were just so many of them. There was no situation or person or car that he couldn't sum up with a one-liner. Either something, he'd sort of put in a script, or he'd just think of things. It was just, it's only thinking back, you go, oh my God, he's had a comedian's ability just to do the zingers. But one of my favourites was...
I wonder if this is the one I'm thinking it is.
Well, it's one that always sticks in my mind. It made me laugh, but it was also quite accurate. There was this BBC executive who came along. He started sort of interfering in our business, and it was vexing everybody on the team quite a lot. And I said something about them to Quentin, and his response was, "Well, they're stupid, and that's dangerous." And it was perfect, because they were, and it was dangerous for us, because it ended in the programme getting sort of slightly pulled off course. But it's just that way with a pithy one-liner is so an underrated skill, and he was so good at it. And it's that awful thing where you go, God, I wish someone was alive to be able to hear this, and how much actual joy we were getting from just swapping our favourite moments with Quentin. And also just reminiscing about times on shoots. Again, I think it was Woodruff pointed out, you and I have been on a lot of TV shoots, and they often run late and they've started early, so everybody's tired. Things can get pretty fractious quite easily.
Yeah, they can.
Everybody gets a bit ratty, and then things aren't going exactly the way they're supposed to, and that's just making it worse.
Yeah.
We were reminded that none of us ever saw Quentin lose his cool. He was always incredibly gracious under pressure, and that is not a given of anyone in TV, never mind on-screen talent, as it's referred to. No. So you sort of take it for granted at the time, and actually it's not something you can take for granted. His grace under pressure was impressive. And then you'd finish shooting and you'd go for dinner somewhere or something like that if you were on a shoot away, and he'd just be great company around the dinner table. Really funny, but also his knowledge of other stuff, art and watches and wine and stuff, was impressive as well. He was just a genuinely interesting man.
I agree. And I loved having the time to chat with him about cars. He had no ego with cars. And I think that the only connection I had with him, apart from working in the same business, was that he bought that Enfield 8000 electric city car that I subsequently owned. He bought that as a booby prize, a wooden spoon, for the Britain's worst driver, and gave it away on TV.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the person kind of like charged it badly and damaged some of the batteries, and then parked it up, and then it got sold to somebody else and it got rebuilt. But I ended up owning that car. That car was the one that I did the world record in. And I remember emailing Quentin when I bought it to say, I've bought an old Enfield electric car that you used to own, and I'm going to do this with it. And he went, John, this was on email. I've got the email. In fact, I could dig the email out. Johnny, I admire your spirit. And it was something like, it's an appalling car, but I'm sure you'll do something special with it. He didn't just go, that's a shit idea, go away. He was really encouraging. And actually, when it did do what it did, I emailed him and went, told you so. Look, it's only taken me 4 years. He's like, that's brilliant.
The final thing about Quentin, I think, is also how broad-minded he was about cars, as in that he embraced EVs, but he also bloody loved massive American V8s.
Yeah.
And, of course, famously a massive fan of the Lexus LS, the Jeep Cherokee. It's forever associated with him in my mind because he had a series of them when we worked together. So he loved, large engined, very relaxing cars. Of course, he was the king of palming.
He was the palm king, wasn't he?
The palming was superb. And the choice of cars, he had a very broad palette for cars, and his knowledge. And actually, the other thing, I will stop now, but I was just on shoots. I remember, he'd be wearing a jacket and a shirt and be well turned out to be on camera.
Yeah, old school, yeah.
But there are a few occasions when, I remember once we had to get the windows out of an old Beetle because it was being crushed on camera. And he dived in there with the rest of us and was running, a knife around the gaskets to pull the rubber out to get the glass out. And another time there's a car was running rough on a shoot and he was under the bonnet. He wasn't one of those presenters who just stand back and let the minions sort it out. And his car knowledge on a sort of get your hands dirty level was extremely impressive, more so perhaps than people realise.
The thing that I like about all of this, the tragic loss of him, is that he's left such an amazing legacy of car TV, car material, written stuff. The books, I had a look at them over the weekend. I've still got his definitive guide to classic cars in huge hardback, and there was a little kind of glove box sized version, and I've got them both because they were such a good book. They were so well shot and annotated, and I had those when I was at school, or might have been late school, college era, and those are the sorts of things that have definitely led me to wanting to do this for a living. And I told him this at the Ford Goodwood Bash. I might have had a skinful as well, but I did kind of go, look, you were hugely influential on me. The way you told people and equipped people with knowledge for buying used cars and enjoying the thrill of the chase and appreciating historical cars from all different eras of all sizes and walks of life, that really resonated with me. And so, Quentin, I just want to say thank you for everything.
Yes,
and we
exactly.
You'll always live on with Smith and Sniff because you are a sweet guy.
Genuinely a sweet guy.
Full kick down.
Shall we move on and answer a few questions?
Faux show.
Now, there's a chap got in touch, actually got in touch to remind us to please help him.
Oh.
Because he messaged us back in May and we forgot to read out his question. This is a listener called Ross.
Well, only May? Come on, Ross, pull yourself together.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. The Smith and Sniff Ombudsman wouldn't get involved in that. That's practically yesterday in our terms. But Ross says, I'm into a particular mark that may or may not utilise a green almost circle but not quite badge and may or may not have been part of the fabled British Leyland.
Okay.
Yeah.
The green oval, yes.
Yeah, so he's talking about cars that like to rover over the land.
Yes.
I'm very much the anorak and saved for many years to buy my own at 19, and I still have it. Tucked away for 10 plus years in the workshop, mid-modifications and rebuild, as life has often got in the way.
Yep.
And there's been much piss-taking from friends that it's still not done. The love for this mark stemmed from my grandfather on my mum's side. He passed me some old magazines for a family friend when I was little in the 90s, and, well, the magazines have never left me. That was a little bit of tinder towards the bonfire of my obsession with this mark. What really gave the fire the get-up and go of a burning Zafira was the vehicle that resides in my... he's put resides in my Grandy and Nana's garage. I've never heard someone call their grandpa the Grandy, but that's quite good.
Grandy.
He says it's an early 80s model and owned since it was 6 months old. It's part of the family to me. It's towed their many caravans over the years. until a motorhome replaced it, and it's been parked up since. With that background, how on earth do I go about convincing my now wife into being okay with me purchasing it from them? The money isn't the issue. She's just not a car person. To me, the car is utterly priceless. It could be worth 50p or $1 million, but it's the sentimental value. Current thoughts after chatting to various people are that a fair price is around the 20 grand mark. So hopefully, without being crass, we're not talking tiny money, but equally not colossal. Bank of Mum and Dad are happy to finance the purchase interest-free, as a house renovation is currently eating our finances, so I've not got the worry of cash flow. I'm conscious that time is ticking on. They're in their late 80s, early 90s, and maybe not quite as sound-minded as they might have been. I don't want to be too late. It's a usable classic that will fit in our garage with parts that aren't too expensive. It's old enough to be tax exempt and MOT exempt. Help me, chaps. I've been putting it off for too long. Any thoughts? It would break my heart to see it sold out of the family. I would blub like a baby for a long time.
I think in a situation like this, first and foremost, he's already pointed it out, is that his wife might not be interested in the car, but hopefully his wife appreciates the connection, the emotional family tie to the machine, and that happens a lot in our game and this hobby of ours. So yeah, that's really important. Out of respect for you, actually, Ross has not said what the car is because he's offering it to you as a barn find, and so he doesn't want to sort of spoil any reveal. If you were interested. Well, I'll tell you later if you haven't seen down the bottom of this message. But so sorry to listeners for not explaining, but it is definitely a very interesting and quite rare car. And with that in mind, I'm guessing the 20 grand signifies that it's quite rare. But yeah, I would say. I mean, I'll be honest, Ross. This is a no-brainer for me. It's like, can you afford it? Check, with a bit of help, but interest-free. Mum and Dad interest-free, yeah, great. Do you want it? Well, check, yes. Is it priceless in that it's a part of your family? And it sounds like, so your grandparents have owned it since it was 6 months old. I mean, that in itself. So the emotional attachment, and you're saying that, your wife is not into cars, but she must understand that you are, and that this is a very important thing to you, and it's a family. It's irreplaceable. Yeah. But also, if you need to get this over the line with her or with anyone else, it's like, it is a genuinely collectible car. You will not lose your shirt on this. No. So I would say go for it, but make sure that you don't do what sounds like you've done with your other Rover of the land and tuck it in a garage for 10 years mid-rebuild. Just keep this one well exercised and in good nick, and you are laughing if you ever had to sell it because everything else is going up in flames or whatever. But yeah, I do not see any problems here. Warning, we are not experts at buying cars and not having problems. No, I totally agree. I think that you should, because you've already said that you'd blub like a baby if you didn't. Yeah. So I just go with it. But also, who knows? I mean, your partner might never love the car, but she might grow to love the charm of the backstories, and it become, well, or it continue being like a family heirloom pet type thing. Just do it. Just do it. Funnily enough, I was at the Classic Car Show at the NEC last week, and I was talking to a chap on the Jaguar Owners Club stand about my old XJR, and specifically that when I told my now wife that I was going to buy it, she went, "Oh, that? It's a bit of an old man's car, isn't it?" I was like, "No, I really want it, and I think I'm going to buy it." Fast forward a few years to when I realised I probably should sell it because I wasn't using it, and I said, "I'm going to sell the Jag." She went, "No, not the Jag. You can't sell the Jag. I love that car." Really? So, people can come around. She fell for it. Yeah, well, because it's just such a nice car. It's so comfortable and relaxing and quiet and all the other things. And I think she realised that it was excellent. It's actually quite cool. No, I'm down with that. I think that sounds fantastic. Just do it, for goodness sake.
Yeah,
because you know what you'll do if you don't. If you don't do that, you'll end up trying to find a similar version at some point and kind of emulating. Oh, it's just like the one that my grandma and grandpa had, but
yes.
I lost the chance to get that one, and I've never lived it down, and so this is the next best thing. But it will never feel the same. Look at my Beetle. Next year, I will have had it 30 years, like a complete soppy moron. And I love that about it. It's tatty and shonky, and it's not a good example of the mark, but I absolutely love it because it's that car. It is that car.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people going, well, why don't you just reshell it with a better one from California? And I went, because it's not the car then, is it? It's not the one that I drove and did that and did this. And so
that's the problem, isn't it?
And I'm going to enjoy the journey of its gradual resurrection whilst using it. And you should do that with your double R or LR. I don't even know what it is. I think it's an RR.
We'll talk about this later.
I know.
Should we move on?
Yes. Okay. This is a question from Tom Perry. Good day, chaps. Whilst doing the typical petrolhead activity of browsing for upgrades and mods for my new car to me, Jaguar F-Type, what a good car. I follow them regularly around here. They've got such a good bum. I got to the wheels portion of my searching and made the observation there weren't a single aftermarket wheel that looks good on this car. There is a staggeringly large choice of standard F-Type alloy wheels, it seems, and whilst I don't like all of them, they all seem to suit the car quite well in their own way. This got me thinking, are there other cars that, in your opinion, simply do not suit aftermarket wheel designs, or conversely, cars that only look good on aftermarket wheels? Thank you for the continued polished excrement that you produce on a weekly basis, CMTMB. That's a really, really good question. This is going to be one of those ones that marinades with me all week, and I'll end up talking about it maybe in the main podcast because I'm so fussy when it comes to wheels.
Yes.
I'm going to say it's a difficult one. So I've got this Tesla Model S outside, this bargain basement one that I own. I'm adamant that there's no wheels that it came with that I like, and I've never seen any aftermarket wheels on it that I like. So the only solution for me that I've come up with is to put a total closure like turbofan type disc or aero disc on it.
Oh, yes.
Just to cover the whole frigging thing up, because I think it's the only way it looks good. So it's one of those cars where the alloys irritate me. And I don't, and this is controversial. I've said it before, the current Defender, the newie one, the only good wheels are the steels. I can't bear any of the alloys. Whoever designed them, just give yourself a big slap in the face and throw some cold water over yourself, because none of them work with the shape of the car. They all look like they're like late 90s, just throwaway designs. And I hate it about a car that's worth so much money and has so much presence on the road and is highly regarded. It's like all the alloys look shit.
They're just not quite good enough somehow, are they?
No.
They're okay, I think, but they're not amazing, except for, you're right, the steels are good. And one of the wheel options on the Octa is, I think, quite good, but it's the sort of rally inspired one.
That's right, like a Sparco rally type wheel, yeah.
So, in fact, in a way, because I see that people put and have pre-Octa been putting that style of wheel on Defenders, so they're sort of converse to Tom's thing about the F-Type. The Defenders actually sometimes look better on certain kinds of aftermarket wheel, not all of them, but some. Actually, because I think that part of the thing with the F-Type, and this is true of a lot of cars, it's a testament to the skill of car designers that good wheels from the factory suit the car because they've been designed with care so that they match the look of the car. Yeah. And it's probably subtle stuff like, sort of radiuses and thicknesses and all this stuff that just sort of somehow chimes with the general style used on other parts of the body and the bumpers and all of that. And that's why aftermarket wheels don't work, because they don't follow those principles in the same way.
I get very heated and emotional and aggressive about my dislike of wheels, and I have called people out in the past for just being wrong. And I know that just I like those wheels. No, you're wrong.
No, you don't.
and then I realise what kind of a bastard I sound like. I just sound like a toxic art critic. And I don't want to be like that. But I guess I just look at something and I instantly know what I would do with it, and I instantly know what I think would work on it. I always have these visions when I'm coming up with a project car idea or something like that, and I'm always convinced that I've made the right decision, which makes me sound like I'm a right old Simon Cowell, but I'm not.
It's also because your right answer is always TSW blades. Always. Doesn't matter on the car. It's always just TSW blades. Do
you know what I'd like? Do you know what I'd like?
What?
Thinking about the Defender that doesn't look good on any Lloyds. Can you imagine a large, appropriately dished set of Wolfray slot mags on a current black Defender? It would look...
I might Photoshop that up later just to see what it looks like.
With some white letter BF Goodrich's or similar.
Oh, really?
I think it would look shit hot. No? Yes?
Yeah, I don't know. The one for me...
Home Counties Fall Guy?
The Fall Guy truck didn't have slot mags.
No, but it had white letter tyres, of course, because the 80s.
The one for me, as a car that I never really found a set of wheels that worked for it, factory or aftermarket, it's the VW Corrado. It felt like it was such a good-looking car, but it never had great wheels.
There used to be one round my way that had TSW Venoms.
Oh.
And I've seen, of course, now the go-to wheel is the proper original split rim BBS, which are quite expensive now.
Yes.
Which you can have the polished lips on, and they do look good when they're refurbished nicely. But you are right. It's very difficult. To be honest with you, Tom, we possibly haven't answered your question, but you've got me thinking about the fact that I love F-types, and it can't be the facelift. It has to be pre-facelift, and it has to be coupe.
Yes, but I would give time to a Roadster as well, because I think that they're just, I mean, why not? The roof goes back. What's not to like? And then you can hear the exhaust a bit more.
There's an artist formerly known as Salika Lady around this way, and I've seen her a few times in an F-type Roadster, V6S, which is the one that I would want. And she drives it everywhere with the roof down, even when it's definitely not warm enough. But she's always got a smile on her face. She's got colour in her cheeks. And she looks aspirational. I always think she looks aspirational. I love that. Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's move on. I have a question here from Matt Bird. Matt is the deputy editor of Piston Heads. And SSG. People, in fact, who reads Piston Heads might be aware that Matt has recently bought a Jaguar I-Pace.
Yes.
And is writing about it on the site. But he's written to us as well and said, we've recently purchased a Jaguar I-Pace as a family EV, and it's absolutely brilliant. We love it. Part of the appeal as a used buyer was obviously the depreciation suffered, and it definitely feels, cliche alert, like a lot of car for the money at 20 grand.
Yeah.
But with early ones now down to 10 grand and Jaguar in its current muddle, what do you think they might end up at? Will we see £5,000 I-Paces one day, like Johnny's Tesla? Will Jaguar still want to know about them in years to come as they attempt to sell £150,000 luxury cars? Will Jaguar even exist? Maybe that's one for another day, if it hasn't been done to death already. I suppose the general query is, what do you see as the future for I-Paces in terms of the market and looking after them? Because all being well, we'll have this one for a little while.
It's it's a good point. I love the I-Pace. I think it was such a strong product, and it was, in a way, it was over-designed. It had such attention to detail, and it didn't get the credit it possibly deserved. I do think, to keep this one short, I do think we will see them at 5. I think if the way that the combination of public opinion and the economy goes, I think people will still be scared of them. And people will go, well, Jag doesn't quite exist anymore. And I've heard some reports that they've caught fire. And so therefore, I'm definitely not going to buy one. And if you found a one-owner 90,000 mile one right now that's 5 years old, but someone's just used it loads up and down the motorway, I bet you it won't be worth much. And it's a shame. It's a real shame, because that gives off the impression that it's a crap car, and it's not a crap car, as Matt knows.
No. Well, I mean, we had one for 2 years, and it was fantastic. It's a lovely car to drive. We had no problems with ours. The only thing, just before it went back, the keyless fob, the car wasn't always recognising it. It would let you in, but then it wouldn't start. It would just say, can't see the key. And I got the spare key, just assuming that it must be the battery, and it got no better. But I then, this was the week before the car went back to the lease company, so I wasn't going to change the battery, because I didn't know whether the spare had been quietly transmitting in a drawer and had actually got quite a flat battery as well after 2 years.
I see.
So,
yeah.
So I couldn't 100% say that wasn't a simple fix. Otherwise, though, it was absolutely fine. I mean, the entertainment system, the screen in the earlier ones like ours, was just fundamentally a bit sluggish and janky, and sometimes it would take a while to wake up. I noticed that Matt's car has got the later Pivi Pro system, which is way better. And also his car's got air suspension, which makes them drive beautifully. Ours didn't have that.
Yeah.
And still was a lovely car to drive, but the air suspension, I think, just adds a little bit extra. But I think you're absolutely right. The world has this perception of those cars, and it's helped by bullshitting people on the internet who don't know what they're talking about, just perpetuating the idea that it's going to burst into flames, or that, of course, it's going to go wrong because it's a Jag. Now, I joined the Jaguar I-Pace Facebook group when I had ours, and there were a few people in there who had got some issues. The early ones have a thing with, if the 12-volt battery goes flat, that can really cause mayhem, and I think it was fixed in later ones. So I suppose
that's a problem with a few EVs. That's Hyundai, Kia suffer with those quite on the quiet.
I think some Leaves suffer as well. So it's not unique.
Sleeves.
To that. Sleeves.
Is that a sporty Leaf? It's called a sleeve. Sleeve.
But I think you're right. I think the sort of the weight of perception, whether it's accurate or not, that those cars are going to be trouble, will keep crushing the prices, sadly.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, you might get a bargain and a fundamentally decent car. So it's not all bad.
What it means is the rise of, or I hope there will be a continual rise of independent garages who aren't afraid of high voltage EVs, like Cleveland, who I've used for the Tesla Model S.
Oh, yeah.
Who will give you a good diagnosis, will not replace things that don't need replacing, and improve the reputation of a used or high mileage EV. And that's why I did that video and bought that damn car, really.
Right, well, we should wrap this up. If you've got a question for us, hello@smithandsniff.com is the email address. Put Otosot in your subject line if it's a question. Helps us find them. Our live show in Derby next week is sold out, but we've just released tickets for our next live show, which is in Bristol, back to the 90s. It's on Monday, the 15th of December. It's at the Tobacco Factory, where we've been before. Tickets are being sold through their website. Go to tobaccofactorytheatres.com and you can buy a ticket. Hope to see you in December. But for now, goodbye.
Bye, everybody.